Grand Rising. The vibes. The grand energy. That has been moving about in the ethers has been interesting. It's great to have the balanced consideration between some different polarities, right? When I'm at work, my life is functioned off of gauging the ordinary people, right? Heidegger would call them the ordinary people. Granted, the German word is vulgar. You have to watch the last Heidegger stream I did, where the word vulgar comes up in the translation for ordinary person. And we get into a little bit of what it means to be, pagan per se, right? So anyway, because there's this juxtaposition that is occurring between a very thin group, like it is extraordinarily strange what is going on technically. Hang on. Uh-oh. Somebody had a something require an ambulance at a McDonald's. But anyway, it's the seemingly insignificance of things that are kind of finally kind of happening in the world, that they seem like they may not be important enough, but they are, right? Because of the world healing situation, which is at the core of what's going to break a lot of problems as something happens as a purifying force in this world. And things like what happened to that once famous rapper that is suspiciously involved with the death of at least one of two particular rappers that is everybody in this world's kind of awareness. You should drive carefully, whether live, and the disturbing driving styles that you have, sir. See if you even can read comments. Well, sure, why not? You've obviously never watched anybody ever do a driving live stream, have you? You've never once ever watched one at all, right? You probably like to be entertained by pre-produced YouTube stuff, right? If this was a pre-recorded video and not a live stream, you wouldn't worry at all, because obviously nothing bad happened, because it's a pre-recorded live stream and somebody survived to push it up without saying, and he died at the end. If what I am saying is not interesting to you, turn it off. Otherwise, why don't we just talk about the things that I am about, because what I am about is what this channel is about. And if you don't like people being kind, all I'm saying is fuck off or have a cool conversation. Your choice. Anyway. Reality. Right? The perception of reality for us versus a bunch of other guys, right? And what is going to be an unfortunate fact is that there was probably an accident on this highway, because now there's terrible traffic. At any rate, that, you know, just because you got a guy who's tertiarily aware of the news. I mean, like, even I am at this point tertiarily aware of the news, right? There's something magical about your social media feed where you can get exactly what you need from almost no information of merit at all. Well, I mean, what I mean by that is that you know exactly what to do with almost little information to get the rest of it, right? Like, all I needed was one person posting a clip. Does this guy not intend to let me squeeze in? Anyway, all it takes is was me seeing one person's clip that they posted that was like a repost from someone else's clip, you know, which gave me a rough time, a place, and the moment of an event. Alright, there we go. The rough moment of an event. And then I can go look up a bunch of other things about it, right? And then to be able to delineate anything out of any of the information, you have to be patient. You can't be Mr. Clickbaity, kind of like, oh boy, I better go and make my own personal report about this right now, right? Like, you're gonna want to like check a handful of sources to pull it all together. All right. This is gonna be bad. People are like trying to back out of the highway now. It's just like, I shouldn't have come on here. I shouldn't have come on here either. I wonder how bad this is. Anyway, it's the Saturday before Easter. You would think. You'd think it'd be all right on the road. But anyway. So for us, we have a great deal of context because we've been paying attention longer. Thus, we can string all the meaning together, right? It's very frustrating when somebody just starts paying attention, right? I had more patience for it when it was fresh in my mind, when I was just like, oh, and, you know, from this event here to that event here to 9/11 to where things are now since 9/11, and, you know, we're talking about like when it's 2003 or 4 or something, right? You know, and not a tremendous amount has changed in the world, at least seemingly. But the point is that they've actually changed tremendously, right? But for you actually understand that. Where the other guy, they don't understand it at all, you know, because everything narratively fits, you know, made sense to them with what America claims itself to be, what the situation of our friends and enemies are, and everything else, right? And right now, it's a great time of seeing like all your heroes were villains, and I ain't gonna say that all the villains were heroes. A handful of them were certainly misunderstood. Some of them are more of a tragic patsy than a villain, right? And you get a little bit conflicted about your entire attitude and disposition because you've made that a part of your identity and you're not interested in severing it, right? You know, it's just like the situation in with attitudes towards certain people within Islam, for instance, right, where people that are hard right, they kind of don't they don't see, you know, they don't see that the Muslims that they're thinking about are like, it's just like, because Islam is like Catholicism or the church in general. There's a whole bunch of different freaking sects, and then just like some other cults, they use the name and they use the impression that they are like a part of the same conglomerate of people under the Prophet, and of course we're talking about how this functions in the difference between the ideology of the Sunnis versus the ideology of the Shia, which is probably where we get the whole concept of the Fremen of the North and the Fremen of the South in Dune. But anyway, because you know, the South is extraordinarily fundamentalist, different. You know, we all get it when they say that, and you can kind of derive a certain amount of context. So, oh yeah, this is gonna go on for a hot minute. It's definitely gonna go on past the next exit, I think. I'm gonna have to make a phone call in a few minutes and let the job know that traffic is terrible, but not just yet. Right. So, one of the commentaries that I made while listening in on a live stream that was talking about some of the deep and best on the metaphysical knowledges and whatnot is that a big reason why the reality field is acting so funky and things are happening in our personal realities that are favorable and magical in you know, in certain ways, you know, where you're seeing something that's almost fantastic just in your personal field and how it's affecting everything happening out there is, you know, the latent space, whether you are of the conscious masses or not, right? Because the quality of the ordinary man had gone into extraordinary decline, right? Where the ordinary man on an unconscious, sometimes subconscious level has got the it factor and is contributing to the psychic field, you know, often in healthy ways. Well, because we've created a society of people who have given all of their psychic attunement to the reactionary of their sedative cyber synthesis, if you will. Sedative cyber synthesis. There we go. In other words, sitting on their fucking ass, being stimulated by their devices, and not producing or contributing anything of value. They are wasting their potential in the latent space, and this generation has such low psychic involvement with the ether because of how disinterested in their own ability they are, that it's leaving for us more psychic revenue, if you will, to be the spiritual authority in the ethers, to have your magic power function a certain way, right? It's a call for a new mission, right? A new purpose, a new thing to do that is happening because of a certain mission that was accomplished by all the efforts of the souls that were preparing us unconsciously for 2020, as I was, and who was here for those activated afterwards, and those who are going to carry the next generation over, right? Because sadly, if you're Generation Xer, your peers and the proceeding generation did not care as much as their art suggested that they did. Because at the end of the day, they just had made a business out of the issues they cared about, and made those issues their core personality to the point where they didn't want to solve them anymore because they needed them to sustain their own sense of self. Because if they solve those problems, then they can't be the hero that fights those problems, right? I've made this point before about Batman. Batman takes a supervillain, and because they're crazy, they don't get the same treatment as an ordinary thug that goes to ordinary jail. They go to the psychosis jail, where they all get to be near each other, even if they're just in their own isolated cells. But what does that all really mean? As you can see, like I said, with these people wasting their latent space, they're all in their own Arkham Asylum. Their isolated sanctuary within the arcane, thus Arkham. And how the the arcane arts can drive you mad, which theoretically is supposed to be what happens to people like us, but that's not actually what happens. That's all like an inversion. It's just like if you remain of a profane mind, no matter how advanced in the sorcery you become, you are still kind of functioning under the same faults and trip-ups as the ordinary people. You practically are still a quote-unquote ordinary person in this respect. So, if they pull off, I don't know if they can pull off, I don't know. You see, the main reason why they were able to pull off 2020, right? This is part of my shtick with you guys here. The main reason why they were able to pull off 2020 was they were really ramping up to it, and they had a full blown loosh overdrive, right? They went into loosh overdrive to charge up for this event. They had to get people's nervous systems shot with the level of despair over various things to get them psychically charged for all this. This is going to be terrible no matter what. All right, I'm about to wrap it up. Because soon I got to make that phone call about where I am in traffic. Hey, what's up, Slick? Yeah, Loosh, school. So, bless up, Z and fam. Yes, sir. So where was I? So they were ramping up to it, right? Like right now, people are just kind of going back to ignoring events in the world as far as really kind of like honestly affecting them. They're kind of going back to the way it was, right? And there isn't really an effort in bringing up that agitation to do such a thing. So I don't know. It took them years of building up this uneasy charge into people's nervous systems that then made it easy for them to shut everybody down in 2020. Right now, people's energy feels more like it's going at more of a regular pace. And that was the big difference between why that PSYOP that required global participation worked, right? 9/11 required global participation on a national security level, right? This one required your personal global participation as part of a global citizen grift, which is why the World Health Organization was vetted to have this kind of, quote, power. Using that power as the intellectual authority and by no means of law, but other than by ideal, what the WHO says goes. Now the WHO is, now it's like the Vatican, right? It's not really an authoritative institution, but, people who invoke it are saying that they live by their rules. But you still need to ramp up, because if the people are going to be a certain way without effort, then they have to ask themselves how much effort is it worth to amp it up to the next level, right? These are all of the intuitive little inklings that one has to functionally follow in order to pick up on things. And in a sense, it's still kind of a test in what I am saying. I'm explaining to you how I'm working it out, because I'm highly even the most certain, because we need to see what kind of, it's about when they pull it off too. It's hard to do this as an experiment, because you're at the mercy of whenever the shadow ones actually make it happen, and then you seeing if the world gives the results that correspond to it. It's very funny circumstances that led, because dude, if you went back 2016, 2017, they couldn't have pulled off 2020 in just those 4 years prior. You know, they weren't charging everybody like that. The entirety of the psychic charge was the party. We were in a Dionysian blood orgy for fucking 20 fucking years. Right? Probably longer than fucking that when you really think about it. But we were consumed by Medea's mania for forever. And it was that last outburst of Medea's mania that you saw. So something else has to bring about the mania. We're not, it's people don't seem to be under her spell so much so anymore. And there are two Medeas, just like there's two of all these fucking things, right? There's the inverted and the pure. The pure Medea is just the goddess spirit of. It's kind of the goddess of the informed field itself, is kind of what Medea is. But then you've got dark sorcerers that have created kind of an egregore Medea, which is this voice. It's the voice of the Dasein of the Dragon Mother, of the evil Dragon Mother, if you will, if that makes sense. Effectively the voice of that mother of AIX. Yeah, that's right, I said it. Right. I'm not going to pretend that the Gnostics even have it right about their mother of the Demiurge, she's so sorry for the son she created now. It's just like, I'm sorry, I can't follow a cosmology that works like that and works off of personifications. It's a bad explanation. It's a bad explanation in the context of saying that it is a cosmic law that I have to deal with this way, which then concludes my alleged status as some sort of subject to the suffering, right? There's the bullshit projection that our upbringing and limited scope has manifested issues that we struggle with before we reach enlightenment. That's a slightly different thing and is related because it comes from people that are living unconsciously under those Gnostic terms. Yeah, call Medea compels better. The mania is quite a buzz. Right, precisely. Yeah. And I'm not trying to demonize Medea, but I am saying that there is a demon version of there's demon versions of all the gods. This is my whole imposter sky gods thing, which then the imposter sky gods demonize the earth gods and have their servants come in as imposters of them too, and thus you get all your quote devils. All right, so it's all this stuff, right? And we're gonna have to deal with that too, because as the left is dying, because what I just said applies to the quote left. The right, with the exception of the right's elites, the people of the right, their culture is in that hard work ethic stream that is going to run parallel with us who have a hard work ethic stream, because we weren't interested in being lazy at all for any fucking reason. They were, and neither is the quote extreme right. And so the extreme right is who we're going to be competing with for influence in the informed field, right? That's the new war as the left is falling into such a degenerated state that they're practically back in elementary school as far as their relationship with the world in any kind of authentic sense is concerned, and thus withdrawn into their own echo chambers to avoid the work of understanding the foolishness that they have been. Yeah. but no longer on our watch. Right. Anyway, thanks for popping in, Slick. I will catch you. Slick, if you didn't watch my Heidegger thing last night, I spent the whole thing, the whole 2 hours, whatever, on just one chapter. That was a long chapter, but there was so much to unpack as it was getting into Dasein's source of the conscience. You know, our Jiminy Cricket voice. Woo! Oh my God, it was deep, important stuff. I cracked some codes. All right, I'll catch you later.